I'm Aaron Newcomb, and on this episode of Fact Finders, we're going to find out what it takes to store massive amounts of data, especially when you can't throw that data away. To do that, I'm going to go talk to Jason Hick at the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory and find out how they store their data. Well, Jason Hick, thanks for having us out to your facility today.
You bet.
What do you do here at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory?
I'm the Storage Systems Group Lead, and so we manage a large tape library and disk file system for science users of the Office of Science within DOE.
And what kind of activity happens here at the laboratory?
Basically here we're a high-performance computing facility for all of the Department of Energy's Office of Science users. So we have roughly 4,000 users using our facility. Broad range of science, astrophysics, biology, genomics, material science.
And what kind of data do those experiments produce?
There's two kinds of data that are generated. Generally, they break down into experimental data or simulation data. Experimental data comes off of large scientific instruments, telescopes, accelerators, light sources, where simulation data is largely about simulations that the scientists produce to learn more about science. They have input and output decks, and they analyze the results.
What kind of data does that produce? Is it small files or large files or a mix?
The experimental data can be broad-ranging. It's really dependent on what kind of instrument it is. But generally, it's about volume and throughput that you can achieve, ingest, if you will. Where the simulation data tends to be larger single files, and it's really more about bandwidth to process the simulation and keep up with it.
And how do you store all that data?
We have a center-wide file system and an archival storage system. The center-wide file system is intended for random access or for data processing in general, where the archive system is meant for long-term data storage as its primary use. What's interesting to us is that our archive system has 30% read rate, so it's a very active archive. In the archive system, it's a hierarchical storage system, so it has a very small disk cache, but it's predominantly tape. And so all of the data is on tape. Question is momentary ingest. It may live on disk temporarily.
What does your tape environment look like?
It's right downstairs. Why don't we go take a look?
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Well, Jason, thanks for taking us down to the data center. And wow, this is really impressive. Can you kind of describe what we're looking at behind us here?
Yes, we have 4 SL8500 libraries, and they're full of tapes. So they have close to 30,000 tapes. They've got the T10KC 5 terabyte cartridges, and so they comprise about 40 petabytes of scientific data. We have redundant robots, so there's actually 8 robots in each of the libraries, and they're constantly serving data to users.
And what kind of software do you use to manage this type of environment?
So we use the High Performance Storage System, or HPSS software. And it essentially is a hierarchical storage manager whose one of its main functions is to figure out, as a user requests data, where that data resides and get that tape from where it is into a tape drive and ultimately deliver that data to the user.
Have you also considered other software like LTFS, for example?
Yes, we have. LTFS is exciting for us because it provides a mechanism whereby, regardless of what file system or storage software you use, would allow us to exchange data between facilities.
So what benefits do you get from your tape environment specifically?
There's really 2 main factors for us. The first being reliability. Tape is ideal for long-term data storage. It doesn't require power if you have data on it, and we have data going back to 1979. So data that's decades old does very well on tape. And the second reason is economical. We find that at our facility, tape is 10 times cheaper than the next storage mechanism that we have available to us.
So would it be possible to replicate this environment using other storage technologies like disk or flash?
No, we've looked at that, and the floor space would require about twice as much as we're using now. Your power requirements would go through the roof, and the cost factor is significant. As I said, about 10 times more than tape.
Well, Jason, thanks for having us out here today. This is really interesting.
You bet. It was nice to meet you.
So thanks to Jason at the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, we now know how to store massive amounts of data using the SL8500 from Oracle. Also, he told me after the interview that they are actually growing at a petabyte a month. and that they're going to have to expand their tape library very, very soon. And the cost savings associated with archiving large amounts of data extend beyond scientific applications to commercial and financial applications as well, and virtually anyone with long-term data storage needs. If you want to learn how to store your data on a tape library, head over to oracle.com/storage. For now, I'm Aaron Newcomb, and thanks for watching.